So welcome to the 2021 Best Workplaces for Commuters List release. And I'll first introduce myself. I'm Julie Bond, and I serve as the Program Director for Best Workplaces for Commuters. We're located at the Center for Urban Transportation Research, also known as Commuter, in Tampa, Florida. I'd also like to introduce our BWC team members here with me today. And so behind the scenes, I have Phil Winters. Many of you know him. He is Commuter's TDM Director. Also Christine Epps, who is BWC's Program Coordinator. And we also have Vanessa Wheeler, who is our BWC Content and Design Specialist. So they're here working behind the scenes, but I wanted to recognize that they are there and this program would not operate without them. So the 2021 BWC list was released at noon today. So I hope many of you have looked through it. We have a lot of great employers on the list. And also many media outlets nationwide have already picked up the news and they are providing publicity. So we expect to see many stories published over the next month. And a few housekeeping tips. The webinar will be recorded and available for on-demand viewing. We encourage you to ask questions at any time through the Q&A box. You can see that to the right. We encourage you to ask those questions at any time. I'll moderate questions after the presentations. Some will be answered in writing as we go along, and then some will be moderated to the presenters. Also, in the download section, we have a copy of the press release and also our 2021 BWC Fast Facts are available for download, and I'll be going through those today. Okay, next slide. To begin the program, I'll provide a quick overview of our 2021 membership, and then I'll turn the time over to our guest speakers, who I'm happy to announce today are Elizabeth Hughes with TDM Specialists, Inc., and Brian Gyorkos with Rubrik, Incorporated. Okay, next slide. So many of you have already heard this news, and we're really excited to announce that more than 450 workplaces were named to the 2021 list. So this number is record-breaking for us since Commuter has been managing best workplaces for commuters, and that's a combined number of workplaces, sites, and universities. And again, the complete list is available on our website at bestworkplaces.org. You can view the list by state in alphabetical order. So of course, I'm not going to be able to say every name because we have over 450 this year, but just to give you a little bit of an idea, if you haven't looked, you're going to see names like Microsoft, Google, Florida Department of Transportation, Mayo Clinic, Harvard University, Yale University, Virginia Tech, IBM, Intuit, Oracle, Seattle Children's Hospital, Stanford University, Association for Commuter Transportation, Utah Transit Authority, Tesla, Verizon, Smart Panda Labs, Orlando VA Healthcare Systems, Tower Crescent, and more. So that's just a little idea of who's on that list. So please, all of them are important to us. There's large and small businesses, so please go to the website and take a look. Okay, next slide. So this shows a breakdown. We had 419 workplaces, 41 universities, and 28 best sites on the list. So that represents over 4 million employees who are being offered commuter benefits in the United States and are a member of the Best Workplaces for Commuter programs. It all includes public and private sector and large and small. Okay, next slide. And each year we rank the states by how many best workplaces, sites, and universities they have. And this year, Florida moved to the top. They're in the #1 position, followed closely by California. Third place is Tennessee. The city of Knoxville worked diligently to certify all of their locations, moving them into the 3rd place spot. Again, they're closely followed by Virginia, then Washington, Texas, North Carolina, Utah, Massachusetts, and Pennsylvania. We have BWC members this year in 25 states in the US, and we're always working to certify more businesses in every state. Next. This is a peek at the primary benefits offered by members. And telework, which shouldn't be a surprise, is the top primary benefit offered. And this was also true last year, but the percentage did increase slightly. So to meet the standard of excellence and be named to the list of best workplaces for commuters, the employer or university or site must offer a primary benefit. Sites are a little bit different. So this one includes just the employer sites. And you can see transit passes, offering a discounted or subsidized transit pass was high on the list, a van pool discount, pre-tax options, or employee shuttles. And next we'll take a look at our primary benefits offered by universities. So again, this is how you become a best workplaces for commuters. You have to offer these high-level benefits to your employees. So telework was also offered frequently by universities, and you can see from this chart, along with free or subsidized transit passes, pre-tax options, and employee and student shuttles. Now this is in our fast facts, so you can look at this if you download a copy, or it is on our BWC website. Okay, next slide. I also wanted to mention the top 20 supporting services offered by Best Workplaces. And again, to become a member, the applicant must offer at least 3 supporting benefits. And secure bicycle parking, again, is at the top of the list, something most of our members offer to their employees so that bicycling can be part of the program. On-site showers and lockers, and then promoting healthy initiatives followed by ride matching assistance. And you can see that's a lengthy list of things that our employers offer. Okay. And I just wanted to mention that we are always offering new benefits to our members. We have a very long list of member benefits that you can take advantage of. And we hope our members who are on the call today will take a look at this benefit, which is new. We started offering a certificate in telework. So our BWC telework certificate is available to all our members, 1 free seat you can take advantage of during your year as a member. So please take a look at that, and we hope you will utilize that benefit. Okay, next slide. Okay, that was just a quick overview of our Best Workplaces list that was announced today, the benefits that we are seeing from our members. And again, go to the website. You can look through those publications in depth. So I'm going to turn the time over now to today's speakers. And I'm really excited. We have 2 great speakers. And our first speaker is Elizabeth Hughes from TDM Specialists, and she's been a BWC partnering organization for many years. So we have worked with Elizabeth and her employers and sites for many years. So we are excited to hear what she is going to present today. And I'll give a little bit of background. She's the president and principal transportation demand management planner. And she has more than 20 years of experience developing sustainable TDM plans, vehicle trip mitigation, and parking demand reduction strategies. She also creates customized commuter programs for employers, property managers, facility professionals, human resource staff, and large and small employers. Real estate developers and architects receive pre-development mitigation assessments and parking demand reduction planning support. So Elizabeth, a warm welcome to you today, and I'm going to now turn the time over to you for your presentation.
Great. Thank you, Julie. I'm really happy to be talking to a lot of folks here today who are in the TDM industry, and also others that have gotten their awards for 2021. I will go ahead and skip this first slide just because you've already covered it. One of the things I was asked to present was how we work with employers and project sites to be able to apply for and receive the best workplaces for commuters, which is the employer version, and a lot of best sites for commuters awards for a lot of our multi-tenant project sites. And so we do a lot of pre-planning, project assessment. We do a lot of research into what is the parking situation? Are they constrained? Do they have too much? We look for any requirements that the city or a county may have for trip reduction. And then we come up with a strategy that will reduce the number of people driving alone. And that's sometimes called car management strategies. We call them rideshare strategies in our industry. But in order to do that, we typically will work directly with, if it's an employer, it'll probably be their facilities department, or if perhaps an HR department. If we're working on a multi-tenant project site, then we are generally working with the property managers, sort of like an extension of staff for them. And when we come up with those strategies, we create what's called a sustainable commuter and a mobility program, and it becomes the commuter program. And our role in the commuter program is to provide the commuter concierge services. So we help our tenants, who are the employers, to consider becoming best workplaces for commuters because they, in our case, most likely qualify. But we also make sure that all of our property owners who qualify are eligible and receive the award, so that everybody can start to have a snowball effect of the project has an award, the tenants can have those awards, the employers then can share that information with their employees and get some acknowledgement and some credit for doing that. Next slide. Julie actually already kind of covered this slide. We do two things. We work with the property managers, the tenants, and the employers directly, providing a great deal of on-site and virtual support and planning and everything you can imagine that a commuter concierge and a whole team of folks would do to make an employer succeed. And then we also do the TDM planning prior to a project receiving its entitlements and being built and occupied. So it's sort of a two-phased approach to how we work. Next slide, please. This slide is really self-serving. It's a little map of some of the projects in the San Francisco Bay Area where we do implementation of commuter concierge services. We are an amenity service at a lot of multi-tenant sites. We are the commute coordinators at some employer sites, and we're all throughout the San Francisco Bay Area and a little bit in the Sacramento region as well. Next slide. This is one of our joyful lists of employers that we have been working with either directly and or indirectly to recruit them onto the list of best workplaces for commuters. Some have been on this list for a number of years. You can see at the bottom, we are one of those companies as well. We're not just a partner with Best Workplaces, but we walk the talk. And my team has access to obviously a lot of telework opportunities, but transit subsidies and guaranteed ride home programs, et cetera. But the employers we work with have been recruited into this project and encouraged to apply. And once they recognize the benefits and the opportunities for the recognition, it's been a really nice win-win opportunity for sharing that back with the actual commuters who are the employees at each of these locations. So we're very pleased and honored to be working with some of these employers on the list. Next slide. This is another one that I really enjoy putting this together. Julie mentioned that there were 28 best sites for commuters, and TDM Specialist is working with more than half of them. So our list is multi-tenant project sites where we are providing commuter concierge services to lots of property managers, but mostly a lot of their tenants and then the commuters that are the employees of those tenants. And this is a really proud moment to share that we've made a lot of progress in recruiting our campuses and getting some recognition for having achieved outstanding commuter resources and benefits. Next slide. And so how do we do it? How do we successfully engage with the businesses to get them on this list? We look at those existing conditions. We try to figure out how close is transit. Are there shuttles? Is there a bike lane nearby? We try to make sure we understand what's already available. We look at the project site itself and make sure that it has the infrastructure to support commuters, like the showers and the carpool bike parking spaces and the kiosks and bike facilities, etc. And then we usually create some kind of a site map, a TDM site map, so that we can use that for future marketing for the employees, so they can actually see that the resources are available at their employer site or at the campus itself. And then as a commuter concierge team, we manage all kinds of outreach, program management, all kinds of marketing and promotions and information and events. Everything you can imagine to do is what we do for building a commuter program at a campus or at an employer site. And we get really involved in trying to move that needle and behavior change some of our drive alone commuters into some alternative. And then once or twice a year, we will do some monitoring. Generally, it'll be an annual commuter survey. And then sometimes mid-year, we will do some smaller polling so that we can gauge data on how well we're doing before the end of the year reporting comes required. And then along the way as well, we sometimes will ask for that feedback from the commuters and also from the employers to make sure they're getting what they need or that we're moving in the right direction to provide support for them. Occasionally, we will also do driveway host counts to monitor the actual trips coming and going from a site in the peak hour mornings. And that gives us some really helpful data, generally for a week at a time, that we can take a snapshot to see how we're doing with reducing the number of trips. Next slide. We use, our TDM Specialist uses a commuter relationship management tool. We're working with OneCommute, and it is very similar to Salesforce for commuters. It gives us an opportunity to target market to our commuters and really address behavior change opportunities. The commuter relationship tool now has given us a way to engage with the commuter based on their preferences and their interests. And so we don't have to promote transit ridership to somebody who's really into bicycling or vice versa. And it allows us a lot more opportunity to gather information that will help us promote other opportunities down the line. So it's a very valuable tool. It's helping us to work smarter, not harder. And we actually engaged in that program last year during COVID. So we took the downtime opportunity and revamped a lot of our technology. And then we provide a lot of commuter concierge amenity services, not just to the tenants and to the employers, but directly with the commuters themselves, with those employees. And whatever they need, we try to solve it for them or educate them about it or whatever it is regarding incentives that we can promote, guaranteed ride home, all of that. We work very closely with the tenants in a partnership capacity. And it might be an HR function that we're, someone from HR that we're dealing with. It might be a facilities manager. In either case, we are always looking for a partner. In some cases, we will also partner as the commuter concierge. We might be working in facilities, but then we will reach out to the HR teams and their wellness teams or their sustainability teams and try to partner in with all those other departments, because having a relationship with those groups can help expand our messaging, and then we can all cross message in a synergistic opportunity. And like I touched on before, outreach and promotions and marketing and incentives and prizes and bribes, whatever you want to call them, and surveys is a big part of collecting all the data that we need for information and tracking. Next slide. So I kind of already started with state the goal, build your relationships, organize and learn what it is you need to know about your project, and its location, collect a lot of data, and really a big piece of what we do is leverage the existing resources. We will work with whatever 511 is near us. It might be the San Francisco 511 Bay Area. It could be Contra Costa 511. It could be commute.org. We might work with, say, the county that may have some programs. Alameda County has a guaranteed ride home program, some free trial passes. We work with Association for Commuter Transportation, and of course, Best Workplaces, League of Bicyclists of America, Silicon Valley Bike Coalition. Wherever there's an opportunity to promote something that is aligned with our messaging, Bike to Work Day is a great example. We ask our employers if they want to get involved. Do they want to participate? Do they want to be a sponsor? It then just creates a wider range of communication to the employee, because it's not just coming from the commute coordinator, it's actually going to come from their employer as well. And sometimes that has a bigger impact on engaging people for participation. Next slide, please. This one is a multi-tenant site we're really proud to share. It is in South San Francisco. It has 3 tenants, and collectively or aggregately, they've done very well over many years. The small dip you see in 2010, 2011 is a fallout from the recession in 2008. And a lot of people lost their jobs. They lost their carpool partners. They lost their van pool groups. People were afraid of losing their jobs, so they would drive to work every day. So we did see some impacts from that. But ever since 2012 and forward, this particular site has done so well, and exceeding their goal, which is 35% alternative mode use rate. And primarily they've done so well because the property owner put into place a lot of infrastructure to support the program. We were brought in to be a commuter concierge team. And then each employer has an employee program for commuter benefits, pre-tax and subsidies for transit and van pools. In this case, this particular site, all 3 of the tenants provide taxable allowances for those who bike or those who carpool. So it was a much higher level of benefits services that these employers provide. And so the quality of the programming from each tenant site or each employer was much higher than sort of normal. And then collectively, as a group, they've exceeded their goals for alternative trip reduction. So we like to share this because it's a shining star in our portfolio of success, makes our property owner happy, makes our property management happy, and we're really proud of our tenants and the employers that have made this succeed. Next slide. Okay, so we all know that employers want to get these awards because they want to become an employer of choice. When they're an employer of choice, it really helps someone with recruitment and retention, maintaining key talent, et cetera. And if you're going to apply for the best workplaces for millennials or the best employers for diversity and best workplaces for women, why should you not also have best workplaces for commuters? So we promote ours just like other places are promoting their own acknowledgements and awards, and we like to be included and have some value to the tenants and to the property owners. Next slide. And that's me. Julie's already provided that information, and I'll turn it back to Julie.
Thanks, Elizabeth. That was a really informative presentation. And I just have to say, I'm so impressed with how many of our best sites that you work with and helped us certify this year. That really helped us move into those record-breaking numbers. And so I'm sure you'll have some questions at the end about your best sites. So we will have questions again at the end for both the presenters. So please type your questions into the Q&A box. And again, thank you so much to Elizabeth, and I'll ask you to come back on the screen when we start the Q&A session. Okay, so now I'm going to turn the time over to our second presenter, who is Brian Gyorkos. And Brian, welcome. And I'm going to tell the audience a little bit about you. We're very excited to have you here presenting with us today. And so Brian's a 22-year veteran of the security and transportation industries with experience working in both public and private sectors. He's worked at the Environmental Protection Agency, the Drug Enforcement Administration, TE Connectivity, ON Semiconductor, and most recently, Rubrik, where Brian leads the charge on motivating employees to get out of their cars. So we like that position that he has. His experience ranges from running emergency response teams to managing manufacturing operations to designing and implementing employee transportation programs. And lastly, under Brian's leadership, Rubrik received the Best Workplaces for Commuters Award, the Association for Commuter Transportation 2020 Best Program Award, and the League of American Bicyclists 2020 Bike Friendly Business Award. So we're happy to hear that you are such a great company, and I'm sure your employees appreciate everything you are doing for them. And I'll turn the time over to you, and we're going to hear a little bit about your program.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you, Julie. I really appreciate the nice warm welcome. First, I wanted to really talk about what is Rubrik. Rubrik is a startup here in Palo Alto. It's a single platform that manages data in the cloud. And we just celebrated our 7th birthday yesterday, which was really, really neat. I've been here almost 3 years. We have 14 locations, but our main locations are in Palo Alto, off of Page Mill, and the Stanford, or the off of Stanford and the Bangalore campuses. We have about 1,600 employees, and our Rubrik team comprises of the Workplace Solutions Group, which is run by Fred Franz. He's brought me over from another company that we worked at, and I run the safety, security, and transportation for him. And we have a great team. They're located in Palo Alto and Bangalore, and we support globally all the safety, security, and transportation efforts. So you can go to the next slide. The problem that we had when we were such a fast-growing group is that we didn't have any parking. So whenever I came on board, parking was well, if you got here early, you would have parking. If you didn't, you were parking other places, and we were annoying all of our friends and neighbors and everything like that. So the one thing that we did have was Caltrain. It was a last mile solution for that. And you can see the map on the right-hand side. Most of the people in San Francisco would take that, and then some of the folks down in the South Bay would take that. But it only encompassed about maybe 12% of the overall group. So it was one solution that they had, and that was what was in place. There wasn't a commuter map. We knew that was something that we really wanted to get a hold of, and you heard that in Elizabeth's her presentation of the importance of that. Also utilizing local resources and leveraging experts in the field. So that was our problem. And the next slide here, you'll see the solution that we kind of went through, and we can go through these points here. The neat thing about being in the Stanford Research Park was we found a local TDM resource within Jamie Jarvis's group, and they have kind of I would say an a la carte solution where they have many different options that you can take, and you can implement it into your group. If one doesn't fit yours, there's a backup plan that you can kind of look into and research. And what we did was we engaged in with Jamie's group, and we also hired Elizabeth to help us out, and really her experience is how to hit the numbers and hit them really hard to be able to get in the game. And we needed that expert ability to be able to grab that program because we were having so much issues with parking and other things like that, and really grab the people's attention. So the first thing that she did, and we grabbed a hold of, was the mapping part of it. And if you don't know where people live, it's really hard to kind of grab that. So on the slide before, you saw that we did that mapping program, and we were able to find local buses and light rails and a solution for some areas that maybe didn't have much attention before, such as the East Bay or down south. We had no idea because we just didn't have them on a map. The other neat thing, and you see, it puts a big smile on my face when I look at it, the white van there. Enterprise Solutions Disc really for us was really good because it got people in pockets together that didn't maybe live on a Caltrain or a light rail solution, get them into a van, and they can go to work with their friends. They can on that side they had a really good platform which enabled wireless connection and different things like that to allow people to be able to connect and be able to work while they're in this van pool. And it really took off. This was the first one in Sunnyvale, and it actually grew to 22 vans, and we had people on each one of these vans. So we were just chipping away as we continued to look at the mapping and continued to leverage the resources. Carpool solutions came in, Scoop and different things like that, where we can get people on a schedule and they would carpool in that kind of fashion. So as we continued to grow into this, we had tons of training and outreach programs where we would promote these opportunities. We would, you can see the best workplace for commuters. The magnets, we'd stick them on the vans and on the enterprise vans all over the place. So we would really celebrate those overall successes. And I'll back up one quick note here. The benefits, for even the bikers, we were able to start a program with them and actually get it into the benefits program where they get $20 a month to help out with tires and different things like that and gear that they might want to buy. But it just a little bit of recognition there really went a long way. So we tried to, as we were moving through, try to get almost a handle on every single commuter that we could think of. The next slide here will go into the next problem. So we grew so fast that we had 2 different locations. They're 2 miles apart. So I'm not promoting this bike company or the scooter company. I'm just telling you what the benefits are on this. And you can see the people in the middle of the different bikes. We started adding our own bike program to the mix so that we can commute, but we also could actually ride them home, or you can commute between the offices. So we used it multi-purpose there. So the rad bikes worked well for us. We've got the off-road bikes and the step-through bikes and really brought that home. But the neat thing about both solutions is they have headlights and they have some safety things involved in it that really helped out with our overall program, because we wanted to make sure that if people were going to use these solutions, they were safe and they were secure and they had the best options. So a lot of these 2 offer the solutions that we thought were better than others. The next slide, if you can. All right, so as we compiled all this information together, we started to collect all the sustainability awards and different things like that. We're the 3rd year in the Best Workplace for Commuters award. You can see on the left-hand side, we started with the TDM opportunities in Stanford to the Bridging Elizabeth in from the TDM to be able to get the local expert, to Bikes Make Life Better, to all these different things. And we really think that really brings home our program in a matter of 3 years. We have a number of different awards. We want to be able to maintain our key talent. We want to promote what we do for our community. And this continues to thrive, and we're looking for other opportunities out there that we can bring in when everybody comes back from COVID. But one of the things that we were able to do on the bike option is we're still able to allow people to come by and rent the bikes for us and pick up a bike. We still continue to do that today, and we hope that obviously as we move forward with this, we'll continue to advance our program and really knock it out of the park. So I appreciate the time here. On my next slide here, I have an email that you can email me anytime. I'll answer the question as best as I can, and I appreciate the time to be able to speak to you today.
Well, thanks, Brian, for the presentation. That was really great. I love the stickers on your enterprise van pools. That's great.
Story about that. So I drove my personal vehicle one day. So they stuck a magnet sticker on my personal vehicle. Like, hey, you know what? You usually do the van pool. Why aren't you doing the van pool today? It was kind of neat how we continue to.
That's funny. That's great. Yeah, and the bicycle program, that looks incredible for your employees. That looks like a lot of fun. Elizabeth, I'll invite you to turn your camera back on too, because we have questions for both of you. And We'll go back and forth with the questions again. If you have questions during this session, type them in at any time. And Elizabeth, I'll start off with a question for you. Do you do the reporting on behalf of your employers, property managers, and developers, or do they report directly to the government entities that require the trip reduction?
In our case, we do the reporting. We collect all the data and survey. We do all of the number crunching and the report development, and then submit it on behalf of our projects to the cities or the jurisdictions that require them.
Okay, great. And Brian, this question is for you. How has your program impacted your employee recruiting?
Oh, we actually, we had some big plans, and I would tell you that we looked at wrapping our enterprise vans to all kinds of different things. We actually work really hand in hand with our recruiters, and we were coming up with a presentation that obviously we could do for new hires and whenever people come on board, but we're actually actively trying to promote as many of these things through LinkedIn and other things as that we come in. And today we're going to look at that that option based on the newest award today.
Great.
Excuse me.
Elizabeth, is that from your perspective, is that a big part of it too, impacting employee recruiting for your clients?
Yes, we do see, we get emails from different HR teams and recruiters. For example, I have a large biotechnology client in Foster City, and I'm playing a commute coordinator role, and their teams reach out to me as the commuter person. How do I give this information to my interns? How do I give this to our, people we're trying to recruit? And so we create packages especially for the folks who are in the recruiter. And then of course, we get emails from HR. Can you tell me a little bit more about the pre-tax option, or some element of what might be changing for the bicycle allowances and things like that. And so we engage quite often with the recruiters and with the HR folks regarding recruitment. And then feedback over the time that we've done certain surveys, people will actually tell us in the satisfaction surveys, it's one of the reasons why I came to work here at this company. It's one of the reasons why I liked the idea of working here, because you have this program. So I actually have some quotes that I've collected over the years that have been really valuable for the employer and for the project.
Oh, yeah, that's great to hear when they're finding that type of value with the programs. Okay, another question. This one is for you, Elizabeth. Have you ever had problems with employers being unwilling to provide a commuter map or employee locations, and how did you overcome this?
Yes, that is tricky. Doing a GIS map is like a huge tool, and we can move the needle so much better and faster with that information. Even if it's anonymous information, the addresses are just so valuable. However, privacy is a really big concern, and most times legal folks are not going to allow that information to be provided. Primarily, I'm usually a contract employee, so that's one issue or barrier. However, over time, when we're engaging one-on-one with people, or we're doing a survey, or we're doing an event, people will share voluntarily where they live, what's their city, what's their zip code. And we don't usually ask them for an address until they want to get a little more engaged. But over time, we collect or create a database, and we can do mapping based on a database, sort of like a heat map. But as people are voluntarily providing information such as their addresses, we can really develop a better map and match people with a van pool that has 2 openings, or with somebody who's really looking for a bike buddy because they live right down the street from the office or something. So it's a challenge, and it's a pretty common challenge on projects where we can't get that data, but it's a very valuable tool. I think in many cases, real estate planners within larger companies, they get that data for their planning, but the commuter teams don't really get the same tool.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, great. That's a That's a great answer to that question. I have heard that question often from others, that they've had those issues. So great to hear what you've had to deal with. Okay, so Brian, at your company, how do you keep other top-level managers involved, or how does that work at your company? Is that something that they have to have buy-in with you for these programs, or you know, how is that working for you?
Yeah, I think at the beginning it was so bad that obviously, you know, to the founder level, they were engaged in how they were parking. And I would say with our founders, it was amazing because of they used to have garage parking, and I knew when we reached a point where they were really engaged was whenever they gave their garage parking up, and we all raffled them off for employers that maybe they had childcare issues or other where they really need to be in and out pretty quickly, or for people that were going to be interviewing and different things like that. They gave up their passes and they started taking a lot of the commute transportation options that they jumped on board, which was really neat. That kind of involvement really sparks your program. And I think that was one of the areas where we really saw the change. And I think those kind of areas where the leadership just would jump in and offer up prizes and make, you know, make a thing that was going to just be a company all hands and put commute in there on one of the top levels. That showed also commitment. And then the lunch and learns and different things like that, the taco trucks, you know, all the different things that they would support that would get people together and realize that we really need to grab this program and we can do a lot here, given that where we live and where we commute from, there's better options than just jumping in the car.
Great, that's good to hear. Elizabeth, did you have anything to add to that?
Well, I know that when I was working at Rubrik before COVID,
Yeah.
one of the upper level management folks rented out one of the electric bikes multiple times, but he took it all the way home, 22 miles from the office in Palo Alto to where he lived in San Jose. And he's like, I'll do this again. And he did. And it was so inspiring that someone would engage and then share their experience, and we could promote that as well. Whenever you have a senior executive who's willing to participate, they become the champion. Brian is a huge champion. He was a van puller, he's a bike rider, he's all into everything. He's been, you know, really proactive in his programming, but getting additional senior level executives involved is a key feature. If you can do it, I highly recommend it.
That's
Yeah,
great.
that's a long way.
Yeah, that's great to hear about those experiences. Yeah, I love that about the 22-mile ride on the bike. That's great.
Electric bike.
The electric bike, yeah. Hey, but that you still can exercise on those. So
8 out of 10 of his direct reports, it was just Fred's. 8 out of 10 people did some of it. They didn't drive their cars. So that's the kind of commitment that he just by riding that bike, you know, that was what sparked that interest.
That's great. Yes, bicycling can change the world, right? Okay, this message or this question is for Elizabeth. It's directly about Oyster. The incentives the employer gives at Oyster, do they do that out of the goodness of their hearts, or are they mandated by the city?
Well, the employers always have a choice on what they're going to provide to their employees. The commuter benefits programs for an employer is quite an internal decision. The projects themselves, or the project approvals, do dictate most of the infrastructure requirements, the reporting requirements, and having a marketing component and outreach marketing. But as an employer inside a project, those are voluntary programs that they implement and enhance and promote. We help suggest it, encourage it, and guide it, go the next level. try for something better. What would you like to do? So the employers we've been working with at the last project in South San Francisco that was on my slide, those employers are very proactive in the recruitment and retention of their key talent. It's all biotech and everybody's looking for that key talent. So those employers went all in. They really wanted to be competitive, and because they're right next to each other, they sort of started to mirror each other's programs so that one wasn't better than the other and they would just lose people next door to the next competitor. But we don't dictate those. Occasionally, a TDM plan will require a property owner to put into their lease structure that a future tenant is going to have to provide a transit subsidy. But usually the amount or the percentage of that is the future tenant can decide for themselves. So some things are dictated primarily to the building owner or the campus, and then it flows through usually a lease structure to implement and perform to the requirements.
Great. Okay, well, thank you for that answer. We have another question that's for both of you. So Brian, have you and Elizabeth, have you seen this with a company, calculated the cost to supply and maintain vehicle parking, and then use that amount as a starting point to offer other transportation subsidies?
This is a great question for Brian. He's experienced this in a big way.
Okay. You're on the spot, Brian.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out unravel how this parking dilemma that we end up getting ourselves into, and I found myself trying to ask all the neighbors of and going and begging and pleading for more parking. It was quite pathetic in some respects, and the concentration of those efforts probably should have been more on the transportation and getting people out of cars at the beginning. But I would say that for tax purposes and everything like that, we have to put a dollar figure to the parking that we provide on sites, and this includes our e-charging capabilities and different things like that. So we did do that calculation and look at how much that we rent and what would be the value of renting each spot. And then as we brought in more, so you had that bottom line, that spreadsheet, and we're just constantly trying to convert by, if we add in VTA buses and we can get 20% of that, and then that's the cost of that, then we would lower that overall cost. And this is one thing that Elizabeth was working hand in hand with us on, and developing that cost model to where we're constantly looking what else out there in the future. If we invest in it and get 20%, 30% of that overall use on a daily basis, what does that entail in the reduction of overall parking? So we're always doing that model. It's important, obviously, to see what we were using and utilizing fully and efficiently. And it also helped us too with annual budgets. And if we could bring it, if we were seeing a overutilization on bikes and people were having trouble finding some, we would add some more dollars to that, and then figure that, hey, that's taking some cost off the parking. I know that's a really roundabout way of saying it, but that's basically what we were fighting and how we were doing it. And Elizabeth probably has a lot more details on that.
Well, I think in some cases, you can start to offer a really robust commuter program for your employees with benefits and incentives and rewards. And then the parking is sort of it's there, but you're not really thinking about it. And so the value of parking in some employees' minds is, hey, it's free, it's convenient, woohoo. So putting a value on parking is a key feature of moving that needle again to getting people out of driving alone or driving at all. And so putting a value on parking is a way to re-educate people. If you have a go pass for train, can't speak this morning, not enough coffee. Caltrain and you have a free pass for your local bus system and a free guaranteed ride home program and free bikes and free all this, it has a value to somebody who wants to use that resource. But then when you give free parking, that doesn't have a value at all because it's just like expected. So then when you create some kind of a value equalizer, or maybe it's a virtual wallet, if you want to park, your virtual wallet says it's $250. But if you would rather have a Caltrain pass or a free shuttle program from San Francisco to the office and the guaranteed ride home program and rewards, we'll give you that instead of your parking. So people don't quite always have that scenario available for their employees to understand the value of parking, of free parking is not really free. And that's an opportunity for my team to promote to our employers to kind of help move the needle. But it's a feature throughout the industry. If we can put a value on parking, or if we can charge for parking, we would have more successes.
Great answer. We just have a few minutes left, but this is an interesting question for Brian. How is the bicycle lane infrastructure for those who use e-bikes?
I didn't hear a little bit of that first part of it.
How is the bicycle lane infrastructure for those who use e-bikes?
It is extremely better than when we first started. I would say that we created a system of how to get to one site to the other. But one thing that we were noticing is that we really had to educate people and do tabletops and understand, oh, you're going over to Fremont, you take the Dumbarton, what area do you get to here by, and we would talk about those. I think the next step, if we didn't hit COVID, was for us to do dedicated routes and buddies, so that we would have the lone rider would have someone that would be able to go with them. And I think that's important, because if it's like lone worker in a big building, you wouldn't want to have that situation, because if you run into bike tires, flats, issues like that, people have more knowledge about how to repair things than others, or more avenues of resources of who to call to get picked up. I think having a buddy is really important. So we were trying to bridge that, but we see the bike lane infrastructure really improving, even in my hometown in Fremont. They're really making a lot of changes there within just getting us out of the traffic per se. But I've been a bike rider for many years, and you just have to have your eyes and ears open, and you don't need to be listening to music while you're in San Francisco, because you need to have all your senses working to make sure you're safe and you're listening to everything going on. But I do see improvements. And Elizabeth, do you have some more?
Well, I wanted to add that in Stanford Research Park, they're a TMA that really supports all the tenants throughout the park, the business park, and they actually implemented a sort of like a AAA for your bike. If you have a flat tire or your bike breaks or something, they have a bike program for folks to get a pickup and then go home. So it's like Guaranteed Ride Home, but for those who bike. And that was actually a nice enhanced feature for the bicycle community. And it's not a feature I've seen elsewhere in the region, but I would love to implement that in other places.
Yeah, and they actually even went a little bit further. Now you do a Lyft or an Uber, you just do an XL, and they'll tell them that you have a bike and you can get picked up, and that they'll reimburse it, or you can set it up in your own company of how to do that, even through like a Lyft or Uber versus others. But there's multiple different avenues that you can use there to bridge that. Just give people, we put stickers and we name the bikes after Marvel characters, so they have a number on there that they can call to be able to get that emergency contact.
That's great. I think we've come up with a lot of different topics for our next webinars based on what you said, because I want to hear more about this. That AAA for bikes is amazing, and I know that is so needed for someone who might get a flat tire or something on the way to work. So that's another subject we could look at for future webinars. Well, we are out of time. This has just been really an excellent discussion and excellent presentations from both of you. So I thank you for being part of our kickoff for our 2021 list, and we're looking forward to working with you and all of the employers out there. We've had a large crowd attending today, one of our largest, and we're just looking forward to working with everyone to help support all your initiatives and make commuting and teleworking and all types of work better across the United States. So again, Elizabeth and Brian, I thank you, and we look forward to working with you this year.
My pleasure. Thank you.